right, good morning. My name is Kelly Dipsey. I'm the Senior Director of Communications and External Relations here at Berkeley College. Thank you so much for being here. On behalf of myself and our Berkeley College team, which has been putting on this event for 9 years, I'm proud to welcome you to campus. I'd also like to greet the audience watching via the live stream from all over New Jersey, across the river in New York, throughout the United States, and even internationally. Welcome to our high school students and our future business leaders of America. Yes. Special shout out to my alma mater, Passaic Valley High School, that's here. Thank you for being with us. If you'd like to share today's event on social media, please use @Berkeley College, #WEW2023. The Wi-Fi information is on the cards at the center of your table. It's going to be an exciting morning. Thank you to our sponsors, Blackhawk Data, Eastern Funding LLC, and Valley Bank Women in Business, and our partners, Dee's Cozy Kitchen and ShopRite of Little Falls, and all of the exhibit tables in the community room for your support of this event. Also, thank you to our chamber supporters, the New Jersey Business and Industry Association and the Statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey for amplifying this event to your memberships. It is your support that helps us expand this event year after year. I would like to also call attention to our graphic recorder, Dr. Jill Greenbaum, who will be illustrating today's event for us. Jill, who I may add also runs a woman-owned small business, is going to help us distill our big ideas in a visual way. So at the end of our program, I encourage you to come over and take a picture of her board so you remember all of the highlights and key messages from today. Women's Entrepreneurship Week was founded in 2015 as part of a global initiative to address gender disparities in business and entrepreneurship. Now in its 9th year, more than 150 women have shared their voices during our Berkeley College panels, instilling confidence, sharing resources, and building the bridge of mentorship to our students and aspiring entrepreneurs in the community. In the past, our women's entrepreneurship events have focused on the themes of recalibrating the future, owning your story, and finding your big idea. This year, we focus on mentorship and the power to empower. We know that employees who have mentors feel more empowered and confident in their jobs, are more productive, and have a better chance of being promoted. But mentors are even more vital in business, where the average lifespan of a startup is less than 2 years. According to Forbes, 30% of entrepreneurs who had just one interaction with a business mentor reported a growth in their business. Mentors can hold you accountable in a way that your own team can't. They can see the big picture because they aren't in the trenches with you day in and day out. They can provide that insight that can prolong the lifespan of your business. Mentors can see our power before we can see it. They open those doors so we can walk through them. And that's the reason today's speakers, trailblazers in business, fashion, media, and information technology are here, to share their successes and their challenges, and to encourage you, the strong, capable, and confident entrepreneurs in the audience, that the world needs your talents. Before we get into the main program, I'm going to introduce another woman with the power to empower, our student leader, Tanya Motos. Tanya is a standout student, but is also well on her way to a meaningful career as a labor and delivery certified surgical technologist at Chilton Medical Center. With her bachelor's degree in health services management, Tanya hopes to expand her expertise on the administrative side of healthcare, doing more for the babies and the families she works with every day. Tanya came to the United States from El Salvador at 19 years old. In her words, starting her life from nothing. She found a job and enrolled in college full-time, working as a medical assistant through the night and attending classes during the day in unwavering pursuit of her goals. When I asked Tanya to share a few words of inspiration for this event, she said, "An empowered woman will glue herself back together as many times as it takes and be stronger every time." I'm proud to introduce Tanya Motos.
Good morning, everyone. To our faculty, staff, students, business leaders, and everyone who came to join us today. First and foremost, I would like to thank Berkeley College President Dr. Diane Racines and our recently appointed Provost Patricia Greer, today's keynote speaker, Jamie Wynn, and of course, the rest of our panelists for taking the time to be here with us today and share their journey. Let's please give them a round of applause. I am incredibly honored to be speaking among these amazing women and hope one day to be in a position similar to theirs. I hope that other student entrepreneurs and myself can absorb some of their wisdom. I would also like to extend a big thanks to Kelly Dempsey for helping me prepare for today and other events, and also to the Student Development and Campus Life Department, especially to James Marshman and Dr. Sharon Sherrod for believing in me since the beginning, and of course, to my parents. But I also would like to thank those that at some point in my life told me I would not make it very far, because if it wasn't for them, I would not be standing here today. I moved to a new country by myself at 19 and got my first job as a babysitter, and eventually became a medical assistant. Yes, it has taken me longer than others, but I recently obtained my associate's degree in surgical technology and currently work in labor and delivery as a certified surgical tech. Thank you. And I am currently working towards my bachelor's in health services management. I have joined the Alpha Sigma Lambda and Phi Theta Kappa honor societies, and this past year I've served as a student government ambassador and a student representative for the Berkeley College Board of Trustees, advocating for the student body. I was also named as one of the students of the All-In Campus Democracy Challenge Student Voting Honor Roll, and only a few weeks ago, I became the recipient of the Rising Star Award by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. With time, I have proven not to those who didn't believe in me, but to myself, that my stubbornness will allow me to aim as high as I want. If there is something that I have learned this past couple of years, it's not to let how I look, how I sound, or other people's words define my success. Don't be afraid to jump. We will face obstacles along the way that I'm sure will make us fall, probably more than once. But remember to be stubborn and get up and keep trying. I'm sure at least one, if not all of our panelists today have been told no, or you can't do it at some point during their journey. This is why programs like these are so important to serve not only as an inspiration, but also as a reminder that we can achieve whatever we set our minds to, and to provide us tools to jump the obstacles that will clutter our way to success. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. We appreciate you being here today to share your story and to represent the Berkeley College student body. At this time, I would like to introduce Dr. Diane Racines, President of Berkeley College. Dr. Racines has been a champion of Women's Entrepreneurship Week since its inception. As our students' biggest advocate, we appreciate her support of programming that provides a real-life classroom for our students and opens doors to mentorship, internships, and job opportunities. Dr. Racines, thank you for being with us today.
Good morning. Once again, I would like to thank you for being a part of this remarkable event. I also want to take a moment to thank Kelly, who has been instrumental in making Women's Entrepreneurship Week a continuing success. She has ensured that this program thrives year after year. Thank you, Kelly. At this time, I would like to introduce several Berkeley College leaders that are with us today, starting with our chairman of the board, Kevin Lewing. Dr. Patty Greer, our provost. Ty Gaines, our campus operating officer for Woodland Park. Dr. Sherelle Shabazz, our vice president for student development and campus life. And Ellen Zetas, executive director of our Berkeley College Foundation. At this time, I would like to introduce our keynote speaker, Jamie Nguyen. Ms. Nguyen joined the Jimmy Choo business in 2016 as the Vice President of Sales and Planning. She was appointed President of Jimmy Choo Americas in 2021 and is leading the region into growth as a full luxury lifestyle omni-channel brand. Ms. Nguyen's more than 25 years of experience spans global brand businesses in multiple product categories. Some names you may recognize: Ralph Lauren, Anne Klein, Marc Jacobs, and more. Ms. Nguyen attributes her success to critical thinking, strategic planning, and leadership style. Her strong relationships over the years have allowed her to continue to build and sustain brand loyalty. She is committed to diversity in the fashion industry and sits on the Capri Diversity and Inclusion Council. As she is doing here today, she advocates for and mentors young students who are eager to enter the fashion industry. And most exciting for us, Ms. Nguyen holds a bachelor's degree in fashion merchandising and management from Berkeley College. Before Ms. Nguyen delivers her keynote address, I would like to invite her to the podium for a special awards presentation. The Women's Entrepreneurship Award was established in 2021 in conjunction with Berkeley College's 90th anniversary. The award recognizes the entrepreneurs, business, and community leaders who have generously shared their career advice, personal experience, and journey to success to help our students reach their goals. Ms. Nguyen, as a Berkeley College alumna, your involvement in today's event opens doors to our students by giving them the opportunity to find mentors, gather inspiration, and see people just like them in prominent positions across the professional landscape. We sincerely thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you, Dr. Diane Racinos and the rest of the family for recognizing me for this award. I feel privileged to stand here today and accept this award in front of all of you for all the women leaders and those women that are out here fighting and making a difference and for their voice to be heard. So I humbly accept this award for all of us. So good morning, everyone. Welcome. And thank you for having me here today and to celebrate Women's Entrepreneurship Week. A warm welcome to all the business owners, Chamber of Commerce, Berkeley faculty, staff, students. Special thank you to Dr. Diane Racinos, Kelly, and the entire Berkeley family for facilitating this and recognizing me. I'm honored to be here and to share my story. I chose to speak about my career path and my journey because what better way to empower people than to share your own power and to forge a sense of hope and to touch others in a genuine and authentic way. I believe we all have the ability to empower and to make change if we are intentional. So My name is Jamie Nguyen, and I am the president of Jimmy Choo Americas. I've been with the company for 7.5 years, and in my current role as president for since April of 2021. My story begins in 1975. Yes, I'm dating myself. In rural Pennsylvania. Anyone out there from Pennsylvania? Ah, okay, a few of you. Pottstown, Pennsylvania, to be exact. An hour and 30 minutes south of the Poconos, and being the youngest of 5. I grew up in a modest household with 2 loving parents. My mom was a nurse. My father was a decorated officer in law enforcement. My life was pretty much idyllic. My parents were extremely supportive of all of us, showered us with love and affection. Being the baby of the family had its advantages, but even at this very young age, I had an intrinsic drive for success. I was infatuated with fashion and the dream of living and working in the big city with the dazzling bright lights of New York. As a child, I'd love to walk around the house with my older sister's clothes and shoes, trying to look like a grown fashionista. I enjoyed watching TV shows, mostly MTV, and watching fashion magazines and reading fashion magazines, not for their entertainment value, but rather for their take on the fashions of the day. I had this dream, this passion of success that has persevered throughout my entire life, one that I continue to live out today, albeit quietly and determined. My parents divorced when I was young, and my siblings and I went to live with our father. Life changed drastically, and we grew up quickly. My dad was an incredibly hard worker, disciplined, structured. He lived his life with passion, purpose, and so much love, pretty much how I live mine today. His life's work was to be a good provider and a loving father. He would work the midnight shift, come home in the morning, pack our lunches, see us off to school, and then show up every day after school at every sporting event cheering us on. He was the epitome of tough and supportive. I often marveled at how hard he worked and said, one day I'm going to return the favor and take care of him. Growing up, we moved quite a few times in Pennsylvania, but we landed in the Poconos for my elementary and secondary education, 60 miles west of the city lights. My siblings gradually moved out of the house to attend college and to enter the workforce. Like my siblings, I too went off to college in Western Pennsylvania, having had the opportunity to spend the most time with our dad. During my sophomore year, my world began to unravel as my father was diagnosed with leukemia. Like my style, I left school immediately to return home to help care for him, like he had for me when I was younger. Thankfully, my father was provided excellent medical care at the University of Pennsylvania Medical Center, and his leukemia went into remission. He gradually reached the stage where he was functioning normally, and we believed that the worst was behind him. Ironically, it was while my father was undergoing treatment for his leukemia that he encouraged me to get back to life and not to worry about him, and so I began my career in retail. I was going to work and traveling back and forth to UPenn to stay with him for his treatments. That old drive, passion, and ambition managed to bubble to the surface even during some of my darkest days. Perhaps it was because I was home again and I remembered the lessons while watching my father work so hard. While working, my managers always deemed my work performance exemplary, and I was consistently recognized for my outstanding work and for outperforming my peers. It seems that I really had a knack for the business. I was quietly advancing in my career. It was around this time that I received an offer to take a retail position in Florida, a far cry from the bright lights of New York, but I jumped at the opportunity as my father was in good health. Things were going well in my new position in Florida when unexpectedly a year later, in April '97, after a relapse, my dad had passed away. His departure completely caught me off guard. I was overcome with a thick cloud of grief. Heartbroken after his passing, I immediately notified executives and I was relocating back to the Northeast to be closer to family and friends, and without hesitation found an opportunity for me in Englewood, New Jersey. Brought me to Bergen County. I was living my dream. I had found my passion, and I was getting closer to the bright lights. I opened a retail store in northern New Jersey, a position where I excelled and held for 2 years, but I felt there was still more to do with my purpose. I went on to be hired as an assistant buyer for Federated Department Stores and moved into an accelerated training program very quickly. Within 6 months, I was promoted to the role of a buyer, which is a pretty big deal. Within 2 years, sadly, Stern's Department Stores, not sure if anyone remembers Stern's, there are some, was closed. And at the age of 23, I found myself at a career crossroads, trying to determine my next step. I was devastated. Up until that point, I felt I had made some really good career decisions, but one of my Achilles heels was the knowledge that I had not completed college. It led to increased imposter syndrome at work that made me question my abilities on a regular basis. So I decided to go back to school to complete my degree in business. I was determined that if I wanted a career in New York, I needed that piece of paper. As this was happening, I met my now husband, and we started a beautiful family together. Everything was coming together quietly and perfect. I spent a year and a half out of the workforce, but I realized something was missing. I began actively searching for a role in the big city. Eventually, I was offered an account executive role at the Jones Group, and without hesitation, jumped at the opportunity to finally be in the Big Apple, living out my dream. I was approached many times throughout my tenure to be elevated to higher positions, but I questioned whether I was really right for the roles, whether I was ready. While I had completed one degree, I really felt that I needed that second degree in fashion to validate my existence in the industry. And so working full-time, managing a household, I chose to go back to school part-time to secure my degree this time in fashion merchandising and management in no other place but Berkeley College. This was pivotal for me as I used and applied the concepts I was learning in real time at work, allowing me to add value to my role and those around me. I am forever grateful for the choice I made and the education I received here at Berkeley. It helped define who I am and how I lead and I approach my business today. I spent 12 years with the Jones Group, steadily advancing in managerial roles. While there, two very important women came into my life, Jane Jacobs and Tanya Galesic, both of whom I stay very connected to today and who have been amongst my biggest allies and supported me in my journey. Around 2014, I was tapped at LVMH for Marc Jacobs as the Director of Global Business Planning. I graciously agreed, and again, I was being amplified. I stayed on for 2 years, continuing to perform at the highest level. And what I realized was that I was thriving in environments where I could touch and impact multiple departments. I was also becoming increasingly confident in my ability to perform at a high level. Seeing great results, I felt I had what it took to take on larger roles. It was 2016 when I was recruited for Jimmy Choo. And without a second thought, I opted to make this move and start my career in luxury fashion as the Vice President of Wholesale. My entry into the luxury retail world was pivotal. It changed my narrative, gave me the necessary scope and exposure to be a leading force in the industry. Within my first year, I was given additional responsibility and quietly making my mark as a leading executive at the company. Then 2020, we all know what happened. Pandemic hit. We started to make changes in our infrastructure. My predecessor moved on to a CEO role outside the company, and I was tapped to be the new face of Jimmy Choo North America. An amazing opportunity and a privilege to lead an incredible group of talent to the next level, a role that I do not take lightly. However, with anything you pour time into, there is always a sacrifice. I call it a trade-off. For me, it was balancing my work-life balance, climbing the corporate ladder as a minority, being the best mom to my children. Oftentimes, my kids remind me to this day, yeah, Mom, you weren't there at all the plays, recitals, and sporting events. We've canceled family trips. We've cut trips short due to work commitments. There's something to be said for sacrifice. Maybe I've made some mistakes along the way in prioritization, but my kids forgive me, or so I think. And now I find myself overcompensating in other ways, but I think it's important to realize that there are trade-offs in every decision we make, and the key is how you manage them. Understand that with every success, there are failures. I've missed emails, I've missed deadlines from my kids' schools. I could not always show up for PTA events or carpooling, not being able to finish school that first time around. But in the end, it's part of my story. And I always say failures are stepping stones to success. One in particular that still stands out in my mind. I was interviewing for a position at Coach when I was eager to get back in the workforce after having my first daughter. I had a series of interviews. I was down to the final 2 candidates, and they had finally come back and said they were going in a different direction. I was shocked, devastated, a different direction. I had never experienced that type of rejection, and I have to admit, I didn't like it. At that time, it was the worst news, and it took some time to recover, but in hindsight, it was the best news I could have ever been dealt. The following week, the Jones Group called and invited me to come in for an interview, and the rest is history. The true meaning of why things happen for a reason. 2 pivotal inflection points in my life that have helped to mold me and get me to where I am today. Stearns closing in 1999, allowing me to take a break, reset and redefine my career, start my family, and begin my career in New York City. The second, my father passing away when I was 21 years old, where I felt like I did not get the chance to prove myself, show him my full potential, a huge part of why I've worked so hard to get to where I am today. I can't help but think that my success has stemmed from a single truth that has persisted throughout my entire career. I didn't just show up. I've climbed on the backs and stood on the shoulders of those who have never been provided the same opportunity that I was. And I get that. We all do. Not one of us got to where we are by ourselves. The saying, "It takes a village," could not be more true. And as we rise in our roles and positions, we must remember to reach back, mentor, support, and advocate for others on their respective journeys and their success. Exactly what Berkeley College is doing for me today. If you were to connect with my friends, they would tell you I'm a private person, one who doesn't believe in pomp and circumstance, who rarely applauds herself or takes time out to talk about my accomplishments, oftentimes deflecting. In fact, it is that quiet and consistent determination that has gotten me to my current level. I've been lucky enough to be recognized in every role. Sure, some may call it luck, but I stand here today and tell you I've earned it. I've prided myself on working smarter, not harder, exuding that strong work ethic and determination I grew up knowing, and that same passion as a young girl to reach the bright lights. Earned, not given. Today, you heard me talk about my childhood dreams, enabling and inspiring the dreams of others, failures, the importance of allyship, knowing and owning your worth, lessons about tenacity, sacrifice, leading with integrity, and most importantly, giving back. I believe that at our core, we all have the power to determine how you can inspire and empower others to realize what's possible. Today, at Jimmy Choo, I sit on the Capri D&I Council. I'm a mentor for college students. I'm an executive sponsor for one of our ERGs, and I am an advisor for Raise Fashion. I am in a position to impact, amplify, and inspire others, and I take great pride in that. My purpose is to foster the power in others to make a difference. So in closing, I want to share something that I've kept at the forefront of my mind for many years. It is to lead with excellence in all you do. There's a quote from Oprah that I committed to memory a long time ago. It is, "Let excellence become your brand, because when you are excellent, you are unforgettable." My role at Jimmy Choo has allowed me to lead with passion and with purpose, inspiring and empowering a culture for years to come. I hope to be unforgettable and leave a step behind for others to climb upon. And as Kelly eloquently said, the world needs your talents. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jamie Nguyen. Wow, what a way to kick off our event. Now I would like to introduce the moderator for our entrepreneurship panel, Patty Greer. While Patty is fairly new to her position as provost, having assumed the role in August of this year, She is intricately familiar with Berkeley College, its mission, and its students, having spent more than 2 decades as a faculty member and in various leadership positions with the college. Patty is actively engaged with the business community and has presented on DEI topics to the North Jersey, Manhattan, and Woodbridge Metro Chambers of Commerce. She has also served as a member of the Business Council of the Newark Museum of Art since 2019. I invite Patty and the entrepreneurship panel to come up and take their seats. Patty, take it away.
Okay. Is it? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Did I go with that?
Thank you, everyone, for being with us this morning on this beautiful morning. And thank you so much to Kelly for all the hard work you've put into this event. I've attended this event numerous times over the years, and I think you can see from the energy in the room and from our speakers that it's going to be an incredible day. So again, thank you. Thank you so much to Jamie, and thank you to our panelists. At this time, I would like to invite our panelists up to the stage to please take your seats. You can come. Yes. I would first like to introduce Kim Baker, the CEO and founder of Glamazon Beauty. We also have Waikwasia King Thomas, the Senior Director of Merchandising at Francesca's Clothing Boutique. Also, we have Marianne Pagano, the CEO of Blackhawk Data LLC. And last but certainly not least, we have Shelley Wade, radio personality with New York City 94.7, The Block. So this is how I'd like to have our panelists answer the questions. We'll go in the order of Kim, Waikwasia, Marianne, and Shelley. And at the end of the panel presentation, we'll have some time reserved for question and answers, both from you here in person and also those of you who are attending online. So our first question, my first question is, how did the journey to your career begin?
The journey to my career began as a model. I started at age 13 with Elite Model Management, which I left and joined Wilhelmina Model Agency. And during my travels and my journey, I became, I guess, intrigued with makeup. I had to have makeup done on me all the time. However, there was an issue. Being a woman of color, a lot of brands didn't understand at that time that it is more than just being a shade of brown. There's undertones. And I think that being on that journey, I realized that there was something that needed to change in the cosmetics industry. First, representation. Second of all, the fact that makeup shouldn't look like makeup. Makeup shouldn't look like makeup. And I knew that there was a void in the market. And so I knew at some point in my career that I wanted to leave the model industry and do something that not just, to do something not so self-serving. I wanted to create products that I felt had healthy ingredients in it. So my Second Skin Foundation is a vegan formula. Uh, so what started me on my journey was to impact and make products that were healthy and that it had inclusion for women of color.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. So my journey actually began right here at Berkeley College on the White Plains campus. I had just left St. John's University after doing 1 year and decided ultimately that I didn't want to be an economics major and I didn't want to be in a lot of debt when I graduated. So I enrolled at Berkeley in White Plains and I took on fashion. I am 18 years old at the time. Best dressed in middle school, best dressed in high school. So, fashion was always a passion for me. And I'm like, let's do this. So it actually began in my Intro to Fashion 101 class. I had no idea what I wanted to do in the fashion industry. I just knew that I wanted to be in the fashion industry. I couldn't sketch, I couldn't design, but I knew that there was a role for me. And so in my Introduction to Fashion class, a buyer from Dress Barn came in to speak to us. And she started telling us all about what she does as a buyer. And after about 5 minutes, I said, yep, I'm going to be a buyer. And here I am, many, many years later in the fashion industry as the head of clothing of Francesca's, where 6 buyers report directly to me.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Marianne Piano. I am not in fashion. I tried. My journey is interesting. So I started out kind of graduating high school, not knowing what I really wanted to do. I had gone to Dowling for a hot minute, and then my mother sent me to Berkeley out on Long Island when you guys had a Long Island campus. So I've graduated from Berkeley, again, still not knowing what I wanted to do. And my grandmother found a newspaper clipping. Yes, back then they had newspapers. She circled a job and she said, here, go do this before your mother kills you. So I went to work for an IT company back then in the sales or receptionist role. I took my Berkeley skills, my administrative skills, my secretarial skills, and I put them to good use. So I've worked in IT pretty much my entire life. I've done it for 20, 25 years. I've always been on the sales side of the house. Back in 2018, I guess I probably had enough of kind of being pushed around, right? I wanted to close out my next 10, 15 years of my career kind of on a high and feel good about myself. So my partner, Jason, and I decided to just quit a job and start a business from scratch, which is not so easy when you're 50. So you quit a job that you've got money coming in and income, and then you have nothing. It's kind of you and you're by yourself and you have 2 people in a room with a cell phone wondering what to do next. We just finished our 5th year, so we've made it past that 5th year mark. We've got about 45 employees, and I think we do about 60 million in revenue this year. So there we are.
Morning, everyone. I'm Shelley Wade. Lovely meeting everyone from the stage. I currently host afternoons for 94.7 The Block. We're a super fun station. We play throwbacks. And I was born, am I the only one who's not from the East Coast? I was born and raised in Houston, Texas, H-Town. And are you from Texas as well? But I related to so much of what Jamie was saying. I grew up dreaming of living in New York City because it's the big city of dreams. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. I grew up actually wanting to be a Grammy Award-winning singer, so I would sing and perform all over town. And but my high school was a school of communication. We learned radio, we learned television. So when I got to college, I went to Texas Southern University, which is an HBCU in Houston. And you were hilarious. Sorry for all the feedback, guys. But I majored in radio and TV because it was something I was used to studying in high school, but I still wanted to move to New York City and sing on Broadway. But then when I started interning at my college radio station, I caught the radio bug. And I was like, I think I want to pursue this. And so I did, and I got my first full-time job on the radio when I was a junior in college. And I've been in the business ever since. I achieved my goal of working on the radio in New York City at Z100 New York. I was the first African American to ever have a full-time radio show on that station, and I was on Z100 for 12 years. And then, you know, we were talking about adversity in the career, and you don't you learn from your failures. And so I wouldn't say this was a failure, but Ryan Seacrest, they replaced me with Ryan Seacrest on Z100. And so it was devastating for me because it was my dream job and I'd worked so hard to get there. But he was a celebrity, and so that was a good thing for them. But it was devastating for me. And I ended up going to the West Coast for 8 years. And really, it was what I needed. I felt like I needed healing. So I did a lot of hiking and going to the ocean and such. And it was very healing for me. And then last year, my boss, Skip Dillard, my current boss, called me and said, "Hey, what are you doing? Would you like to join me in New York City?" And I was like, wow, a second life in NYC, of course. And so that's how I ended up here. Shout out to Bobby Coyle, by the way, I saw you come in, for connecting me with my friends here at Berkeley College. I'm currently a Berkeley student. I'm studying, currently studying for the Entrepreneurship certificate. And I'm super excited about that. I'm an ambassador for Berkeley. And so I'm just really honored that you guys are having me here today.
Thank you so much for those wonderful responses. Our next question is, can you tell us about how someone in your industry opened doors for you along the way?
I don't know necessarily if it was someone in my industry. I think I was more so just influenced by entrepreneurship, reading about it, reading as many books and tapes. That is pretty much what inspired me. And I just want to say one thing. During the time when I was in school, I would attend events like this, and I would find people that were doing things that I was interested in. And so these type of events, I would say, more so empowered me as opposed to some individual. So that is pretty much it. I would say community. So community is what.
Yeah, thank you.
So I like to credit where I'm at in the point of my career to my sponsor, Sam Lindsay, and I always name drop him when it's time to talk about someone that really did give you a pathway and give you a place in the industry. And so I had worked at Macy's previously. I went through the training program, Federated, as I heard our keynote speaker say, and I came out as an assistant buyer. At the time, JCPenney was recruiting me heavily to move to Texas. And so being an East Coast girl, born and raised, went to school here, I was like, let me try something different. Let me go to Texas. So I left Macy's and went to JCPenney to be their first omni assistant buyer. And that is when you're in control of both stores and the online platform. I did that for 2 years, got a little homesick, and then decided to come back home. When I came back to New York, I was like, I got to get back to Macy's. It always felt like home to me. And so when I went back to some of my mentors there and some of the connections I had, they were impressed with the experience that I had got in that short 2 years. And at the time, there was no positions available in buying. And that's really where all my experience lied. And so my mentor at the time, she was the president of Macy's Backstage. Her name is Vanessa. She's like, listen, I don't want you in an assistant role. You need to be an associate. You have gained a lot of experience. And so I'm not going to hold you back. Thank you for coming to interview with me, but I'll let you go ahead and, interview for something else in the company. And so she passed me on to Macy's department stores. And that's when I started interviewing for other roles. Again, there was no positions in buying. So the only positions available were in merchandise planning. Today, I stand here to tell you that any good buyer has planning experience and any good planner has buying experience. But at the time, for me, I was really stuck in this. I really need to be in buying. She was pushing me and she was pushing me and she's like, interview for these merchandise planning roles. And I'm like, I have zero experience in merchandise planning. So HR lined up 3 interviews with me. The first 2 interviews were a total disaster. By the time I got to the second interview, I was completely defeated because we went through a 30-minute interview and this man looks me directly in my face and says, "I think you're great, but you have no experience in planning." So when we get to the third interview with Sam Lindsay, I'm defeated. I've been here now for 2 hours. I'm interviewing. Everyone knew I didn't have the planning experience because you all have my resume. And so as soon as Sam walks in, he sits down and I said, "I just want to let you know, I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time, but I have absolutely no merchandise planning experience." And he looked at me and he said, "I know, I read your resume. I'm interested in getting to know you." And after 30 minutes of getting to know me, Sam Lindsay offered me the job of associate merchandise planner, reporting into him, and the rest has been history. And so by Sam taking the leap of faith on me and knowing that I could learn the job, I was smart enough to learn the job, it really did open doors for me. And ever since then, he has been a sponsor for me in my career path and advocating for me and opening up different doors and opportunities. So Sam Lindsay definitely gets the credit.
So being in technology as a female, especially obviously 20 years back, right? There weren't a lot of people who took an interest in you or really kind of gave you anything. I come from a very male dominated industry. So there's no one person that really kind of stands out in my past that I can look to. It had to be someone, you had to self-make yourself. You had to be confident in yourself. You had to build your own abilities. You had to show people that you can do it. It wasn't that much till later in my career when I met, my friends, part of my team that I have today, part of my Black Hawk 11. But in my past, there was no one really that kind of put themselves in front of you. There was no one that really wanted to help you. They helped each other, but you as a female in a technology space, nobody really wanted to give you the chance. Right? No one wanted to give you anything, right? So you had to really show it, work harder, right? Do more than the average person had to do and kind of earn your own spot. So no one really does it for you. You had to kind of be self-made. So that's all I got.
Well, my experience is that the people who really impacted my career the most were my professors, my mentor at my college radio station. They made the difference because they believed in me. I remember my professor telling me, "Hey, you should go and intern at the radio station." At that point, I didn't really think, because I was maybe a freshman or a sophomore at the time, I didn't really think that I could make an impact at the radio station because I'm still getting my start. But just me going to intern, it really opened me up, as I said earlier, to the idea that I could make this a reality for my career. And then a mentor, Rick Roberts, who ran the college radio station, he believed in me. Radio still to this day is a very male-driven industry, but it's getting much better. But back then when I was in college, all of the star students were male students. And but he took the time and mentored me, taught me, my foundation. He believed in me. He could have said, "No, you can't, it's not quite right for you." And he could have continued to uplift the male students, but he uplifted me and made me believe that I could do it. And that's why I pursued a job at the station I grew up listening to in Houston, and ended up working full-time on the radio while I was still in college. And I give him the credit, and I give another professor the credit, because they believed in me and they pushed me. So thanks to all the teachers who make us believe that we can.
I just want to add something. That is true. It is the people around you that inspired me. There are people around me who inspired me, because I'm in an industry that not very many people know. How many people know the cosmetics industry? Not buying, but making products. So my industry is one of those industries that I truly had to learn on my own. I truly had to raise my own capital. And I truly had to, just get out there and do everything for myself. Last year, my company, under my leadership, and I try to be humble, but under my leadership, I became the first Black-owned beauty brand on Shop HQ within their 34-year history on television. So, and with that, I also raised on my own $1.5 million. So, yeah, the reason why I say that there weren't very many people to inspire me, because who do you go to say, how do I raise 1.5 million? Or how do I, start a cosmetic brand? I had to do all of this research and just trust it on the energy of the community around me.
I think that's the point, right? You use your network around you, right? We use who we know.
Absolutely.
Not always one person, there's a network of people around you that balance you.
Right.
That helps answer the questions that you don't have to answer yourself.
Absolutely. But I just want to say one thing is that as a Black woman in America, I knew that if I could deal with all the hardships that I had to grow up with, I knew I could raise the 1.5, and I raised 2.
Okay.
Thank you so much. So our next question, and I think we're seeing some clear themes here of mentoring, driving forward, pushing to succeed, even when sometimes you may think there are obstacles in your way. How do you overcome those obstacles and really stay true to your plan? So with that, I'd like to ask the next question of, how have you been able to stay true to your mission or your brand?
I've been able to stay true to my mission and my brand. That's what my whole life has been about. I went from modeling to makeup artistry to a cosmetic brand. Everything around me has always been the empowerment of women, beauty. I stayed true because this is, the path that I chose, and this is a realistic path for me. I stayed true by, I do a lot of community work, which is makeup classes. And I know people say, how does makeup classes empower women? But it does, because it teaches women confidence. It teaches women, to be self-assured. And it also introduces you to something that becomes a life skill. So I've stayed true because this is really all I know. And this is exactly what I do. I can't fake authenticity.
So I'm going to piggyback off of that and say that I stay true to my brand by just being unapologetically me. I am going to show up as Wyquasia, Capri, King, Thomas, no matter where I go. And I think the way that I've been able to really navigate that is to just remove myself from rooms, remove myself from tables, and anything that just not serve the purpose of what I want. And, as a goal of being a chief merchant, that's what my focus is. So if I am in a situation or I'm in a place that does not serve that end goal, then it's ultimately not for me. And if I can't walk in the room and be unapologetically Wyquasia, that room is not for me.
So one of the reasons we started a business was because we felt unappreciated where we were, right? So the goal of Black Owned Theater was to empower our employees to be who they wanted to be, help us make decisions, help us grow the business, right? I don't know how to run a business other than just being me. Probably too old to change, but just being me is what they get. But being real, be authentic. I remember walking out the door the first time I quit the job before we started. The last word they uttered to me was, "We made you who you are. Keep that in mind." And I have kept that in mind because I made me who I am, right? Your job is your forum, and my job is to give, and Jason's job is to give our employees a forum to be who they want to be and better themselves. And every week we meet and we make sure that we're continuing that mission to give the employees what they want and try to help mentor and give back to them and help them build themselves up the way that we lack coming up in the industry. So.
I almost forgot it was my turn. I was so captivated. I always say my brand is, you can always find me at the intersection of pop culture and positivity. My whole career have done entertainment reporting, not only on the radio, but I've been on the Today Show and the talk on CBS and CNN, a lot of places talking about celebs. I find as I get older, I'm not really that interested in what celebs are doing anymore, but I do it because it's my career. What I'm more interested in is making a positive impact. So when I'm on the radio, my intention is to uplift, We play fun music and the job of the music is to uplift as far as I'm concerned. But also whenever I speak, my intention is to uplift, whether I'm saying something funny or something encouraging. I have a feature on my show. By the way, I'm on every day, 2 to 7 p.m. on 94.7 The Block. Please do listen. But I have a feature on the show called The Mindful Moment where I give inspirational words and positive, encouraging words. And I don't know, I was on a panel before earlier this year when I was saying there is joy in hip hop because a lot of people feel like, hip hop is this or that, or but I feel like, as a fan of the genre, I'm a joyful person. I'm not saying I'm perfect all the time, happy all the time, but I'm typically joyful, and there is joy in hip hop. So I like to put that out there. One of my bosses said that one of his friends said, I listen to Shelley Wade and I feel like I'm hearing a hug from my radio. He said, it's hip hop, but yet I feel a hug. And I was like, well, look, that's the energy I'm trying to put out there. As The Rock said, I'm happy he's picking up what I'm putting down, and so that's my goal. I'm inspired by people like Mr. Rogers, who always made me feel safe, and Oprah Winfrey and people like that. And that's the kind of energy I want to put out there, just goodness. And so that's my brand, and that's how I stay true to it. Whenever I am anywhere, I try to just be a positive presence.
Thank you so much. Those were amazing words of wisdom for everyone. Another question we'd like to ask is, how have you overcome, and we've touched on this a bit before, but any barriers being a woman in business? Very smart move, Kim.
Oh, that's perfect timing. My face was just on there, my quote. So when Kelly asked me for a quote, I had 4. I couldn't just give her one. And she's probably like, how was I going to get this on this single paper? But for me, it's just not taking no as an answer, and creating those opportunities when I'm told no to have a yes. So the funny story, and I'll tell a short story. I was at a point in my career, 2020, as we're talking about the pandemic, and everything in retail came to a halt, and nothing was moving in or out. We were furloughing our teams, and we weren't sure what retail looked like when we came out of this. And I was sitting at home, and I came up with this groundbreaking idea that we've coined it as today. And it was a sorority dress collection for the Divine Nine. When I first initially presented this idea, it wasn't favored. There was a lot of confusion. There was a lot of questions. And ultimately, it was decided that this was probably not the right thing right now. For me, that was a no. However, I knew the vision that I had for this groundbreaking fashion line. And I said, no, I need a yes. So I went back and I delivered on the deliverables of all the questions that gave me, right, the ultimate answer of no. I came back to get a yes. And I got no. So then the third time, I went directly to my people leader and I said, I really think this is a missed opportunity. We really need to do this. There is over 1 million college-educated Black women that are looking for their sororities colors for events, for galas, for fundraising activities, and they have nowhere to go to get this. We like to dress alike, and guess what? We don't like to wear the same thing twice. And she looked at me, and this was on Teams, so we're virtual, and she said, Quasia, I see the passion in your eyes. And if I know anything about you, I know you love your sorority, which I'm a proud member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. And she said, if you can make it work within what you have, go for it. I'll fully support you. And that's all I needed from her. And I sit here today to tell you that no turned into a yes, and it turned into a $10 million opportunity for Macy's, and it's known as the Macy's Times Casper Divine Nine Sorority Collection that you can find in over 250 Macy's locations and on Macy's.com. But the most important thing that this initiative did is bring light to the beautiful sororities of the Divine Nine, and the work that we do every single day for our community.
Adversity. All right. So in terms of adversity for me, like, so I live in, again, I work in a very male dominated industry, right? So for me, being a female, wanting to launch out and kind of do your own thing, that was pretty much taboo. It really wasn't something anybody did. So when I actually quit, it was difficult for me because it wasn't just about quitting and starting a job. It was about quitting and trying to start a business from scratch. So everything between just making my life difficult, trying to sue me to stop me, right? Trying to take all the money that I had in the bank account, threatening people, leaving things on your driveway, making your life just super difficult. I faced a lot of adversity to do that. It was very difficult to get from where you were working for someone to try to jump and start a business with no money, no capital, no nothing. And the amount of friction and tension that was between that 6-month period, a year period, before you can actually start a business, it was very difficult. But we did it and we got past it because I was not going to let anybody tell me what I could or could not do with my life. I was not going to let anybody tell me or stop me from doing what I knew was right for us, for business, and for what we wanted for the future of the company. So that is my adversity story.
So the question one more time.
Sure. Sure. Do you remember a business? I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. How did you, I'm skipping ahead here. How did you overcome any barriers?
Period, or as a woman?
As a woman, or period, whatever you'd like to address.
There's so many barriers, right?
I know.
Like, which do you choose? I'd say just period. I started my career in hip hop radio, and then I moved to pop radio when I got to Z100. And I think that just period, not speaking, as far as gender, I think that people like to put people in boxes because they're used to seeing certain things. But I think that I always felt like I had the kind of sound where I could be on different genres. I remember trying to come to New York and sending in my audition tapes. Since I worked in hip hop radio in Houston, I thought, I'll send my audition tape to Hot 97. And then the person who was running it at the time, because this is how I speak, she was like, "You're too polished for hip hop." And I'm thinking, I work in hip hop though, And so people have a certain image. You're not saying yo, 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 all the time, and you can't work in hip hop. But there are fans of hip hop who speak all different kinds of ways, who look all different kinds of ways. And so because I wasn't hired in hip hop radio, I sent my audition tape to Z100, and they would call me back all the time. "You sound amazing. We don't have anything available." And then finally, when they had something available, they called me. So I didn't let the whole "you don't sound a certain way" stop me. I said, okay, well, this is how I can go over, around, or under that barrier. As far as being a woman, again, the business has always been so male driven. People don't see you in certain roles. Right now, I host afternoons, which at one point would have been almost unheard of because that was a male role. They used to only give women, you can be the sidekick on the morning show. You can do middays, which is what I did for a good part of my career, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. while you work, but the men will handle the rest of the stuff, the important shifts, the drive time, the mornings, the afternoons. My boss now, Skip Dillard, who is a man who I feel uplifts women, he hired a woman for our morning show and for our afternoon show right now. And so barriers are being shattered. And so you just have to keep trying and believe in yourself and not let them stop you.
And finally, back to me. I feel that the barrier I broke doesn't really have to do with business, but life. I'm one of the people who contributed to breaking the chain of poverty in my family, in the sense that I have done well for myself because I don't just, have a cosmetic brand, but I also invest in real estate and flip houses. So I have been successful in the sense, and the chain that I have broken was, number one, making sure both of my daughters went and graduated from college. And thank you. And believe it or not, my industry is a male dominated industry. You think makeup is, made by women, it's predominantly men. If you saw the crew of Chanel, you would not believe it. It's all men in whites, and all white men in blue suits. So the chain that I have broken is living my life on my terms and breaking the cycle of poverty.
Thank you so much. So I'd like to just look at that quote, and thank you so much for the wonderful job. And be sure to get a look at that when you leave the event today. But I think my favorite quote from today is, "Failures are stepping stones to success." I think that's such a powerful quote, and I think we've touched on it. And it sort of leads into our next question of, do you remember any business experience where you wished you had perhaps done something differently? Or do you think that if you had done something differently, maybe it wouldn't have led to where you are today? It's a very long question. Sure. Do you remember any business experience where you wished you had done something differently?
This whole journey, I had, talked myself into, like, how in the world did we get into this industry? But I've known since I was 9 years old that I was going to end up in the cosmetic business. Many times I'll jokingly say, I think I said it today to someone, I wish I had became a nurse because it would have been a little bit more safe and more, secure. But no, I don't wish I had done anything differently. I think because I set out and I did exactly what my mission was to do. And I think I proved a lot to myself by doing so. That we come here to live our lives. And I never want to be that woman that sits back later in life and have regrets. So I think that, while it was a scary journey, it is something that, I knew that I would make happen and accomplish. So.
Thank you.
So similarly, I think that everything that I've went through in my life has me where I am today. So would I want to do anything over? I would say no. But what I do wish that if I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't have been so comfortable for so long. And so what I mean by that is, a lot of times when you get into a position, especially in a corporate environment, you get comfortable in your role and you become great at your job and you anniversary yourself. And I found myself in a position where I was so comfortable that I didn't accept some other opportunities that came my way. And so now that I'm a lot wiser and a lot further in my career, I look back and I said, well, if I had taken that opportunity, right, where would I be? And again, everything happens for a reason. So I am where I am today. But I just wanted to share that don't allow yourself to get too comfortable. You really grow and you really thrive when you shake things up and make yourself very uncomfortable.
That was a long question. I'll do my best. So obviously being a chief executive officer and a co-founder of business was not on my roadmap, like literally ever, anywhere. So I'm only doing it for 5 years. So I'm still new to the entire CEO role. So I feel like, I make mistakes every day, all the time, and I try to learn from them. I try to do better every day. I try to pay attention to the core values that are within me and within the business. I try to do better every day for the employees. I drive my poor partner, Jason, crazy every single day because I'm always off balance. I need to be rebalanced. It's hard to find people to balance you when you go off balance. There aren't that many people who understand how you feel. When you're in the chief executive role, they tell you it's lonely at the top. I'm sure you understand that. It is very lonely at the top. There's not many people you can talk to or share things with. So very few people are blessed to have listening to my rant on a daily basis. You know, what I would do differently, what I would tell people is that believe in yourself, believe in your capabilities. I think what happens is too many times we let other people's opinion bring you down, other people's opinion define who you are, and you have to define yourself, and you have to make your own journey, your own path for yourself. No one's ever going to make you. They'll give you a forum to make yourself, but you have to make yourself better. I think I took too long to believe in myself. I think I took too long to decide that I wasn't being treated fairly as an employee or as a person. I wish I would have made that journey sooner. I would have been younger. Well, I was tired. But I think that you have to really focus on the people, and it's my job now to mentor and bring other people up. It's my opportunity to sit on DE&I councils for the city of New York or the state of New York. Sorry, New Jersey people. I live in New York. It's my chance to give back and to mentor other small business owners, right, to build their business up, right? Yes, I was lucky because I had 25 years under my belt, but not everybody does. And a lot of them need help to mentor to get to the next level. I don't even know if I answered the
I want to say hi to everyone over here. I feel like this is like when you're at a concert and you're like back there and then hi guys. I don't like living in regret, you know. I feel like I'm just one of those really sentimental I just like to live life and learn the lessons, you know, and grow from them. I don't like to have regrets. One thing I do grapple with is being I'm just a very, which is kind of unusual for entertainment industry person. I'm just a very like, I care. I I sometimes hate that I'm just a hearing, you know, I'm just a feely person. And oftentimes in my business, you have to really be, and I assume as, you know, president and CEO, you have to be that way, is really strong. I just am not that person. I'm confident, I'm capable, but I'm also very feely. And that kind of, I feel like in our industry, as you can see by reality shows and such, the squeaky wheel gets the most oil, and the people who are craziest and do the craziest things are the rudest. You know, they get the most attention and sometimes the most salary, you know, more money. And so I feel like, man, if I weren't the way I am, you know, this would be, but then at the same time, I accept myself. So, you know, that's the only thing I say I grapple with, is just being a sensitive person. But other than that, I don't really have regrets. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So I think you all know that we have several high school students with us today, and we'd like to give them a warm round of welcome again to Berkeley College. Wonderful. So I think this question is very appropriate. If you could go back in time, and I know we've all talked about not having regrets, but is there a piece of advice that you would give to your 18-year-old self?
Know that you'll be okay and trust the process. I always say that, you know, my number one rock is my faith in God. So that is what I would say. I mean, we all, you know, I have this, and it's kind of cliche, but I have this saying, you know, it's from all of us. From the beginning of our lives, we are all winners. And, you know, my daughter used to say to me, what do you mean by that? And I would say, just think, and I know this might be a little bit, you know, just think about all of the eggs that our mothers once had, and we beat out all of those eggs to make it here to Earth. So that alone makes you a winner. So you just have to ride it on out from there. But trust me, if you beat those eggs and you're here and you got this.
So speaking from experience and as a previous future business leader of America from Walter Panis High School in Cortland Manor, New York, I hope that you guys are really taking the full experience of FBLA. It is truly a great, great, great program. I will tell you that ceilings are created by you. You create your own ceilings. Do not take no for an answer. No is not a final answer. There's always a way that you can go back and figure out how to get to that yes. And then lastly, and this is something that I always say, and I make sure that I tell everyone, and I live in my own life, when there is no seat at the table, you are to grab a chair and make one.
There's a lot of things I would tell my younger self. First, pay more attention to your mother because 18 was a really tough year. I'm not gonna lie. For me, it's more about believing in yourself, right? I always tell people the one thing I did not do my whole career was believe in myself, believe in my capabilities, believe in my skills and my talents, right? I am the most confident, self-conscious person on the planet. And I would tell people just be confident in yourself, right? No one's going to make you who you are. You have to do it for yourself. Use your network, find your people, right? Build your network up with people that have your best interests at heart and share the same qualities and the same ideas that you do. You're not looking for that one person, you're looking for a network. I just had a women's panel a couple of weeks ago, and Krista Malik from CDWG said she's got a daughter with Down syndrome. She talked about her helpers, right? Her daughter goes to school every day and she circles her helpers, people who helped her every day, helped her get her shoes on or help her go to class. Find your helpers in your life. Find people who want to help you build yourself up. And then you do in reverse, right? You pay it forward. Always pay it forward.
Yeah. Mr. Rogers used to always say that, find the helpers. I agree with everything that these ladies have said. You have to believe in yourself. And I also feel like you have to, if you have a dream or a goal and you have passion for it, I'd say go for it. Because a lot of the times we live the life that other people want us to live. And this is not anti-parent or anything like that, but you have to live your own life. Everyone is responsible for living their own lives. And, I used to be concerned about, my parents, back in Houston and me out here chasing my dreams. Dreams have always been a big thing for me. And I would feel guilty about being away, because my whole family's down there. My parents, well, my dad passed away in 2017. And trying not to cry when I say that, but because I'd carried that guilt with me, that really, sorry, I didn't expect to cry, but I remember when he passed away, what am I doing, And then I mentioned that to my mom, and she said, Shelly, we want you to be out there living your dreams, living your life. And she said, I give you permission to get rid of that guilt. You're living your life. And so live your life. You're blessed with this life. Live the life of your dreams, not someone else's. And that's.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Another question would be, this is probably the toughest question. So if you want to take it, this is what I always say to my students. If you want to take a few minutes to think about this. So first, I'd like to say something from everything I've heard. Somebody told me this the other day, and they said, worrying about what other people think and say about you is a completely wasted emotion. And I thought about that, and I said, that's so true. And I think how many of us do that on almost a daily basis? It's like a conscious sort of just almost a mental tick that you have to turn off, So I think everything our panelists have said touches on that. It's just having your own thoughts, your own drive, your own empowerment, and really not letting those other voices get in the way. I know I'm on the panel, sorry, but it really struck me by everything you've said. So here's the question. Is there something you rarely see, but you think that everyone should be trying to do in business? I know, I told you it was going to be a tough one.
Yeah, repeat that one again.
Okay, I'll say it again.
One more time.
Is there something you rarely see, but you think that everyone should be doing in business today? It could be maybe a daily practice that you have, or perhaps something that maybe something you subscribe to, something you read, something you think about. You think about, you're like, I have it. All right, who would like to start? We don't always have to have Kim start.
All right, I'll go first.
Thank you.
I think for me, one of the things that I would tell people is, again, it's about the network, building each other up. I think so many times people spend so much time knocking each other down or trying to step over somebody else. So I think for me, it's working together, right? It goes back to building your network. You have to knock people down to put yourself up. I think you can build yourself up on your own, but I think you have to be supportive of each other. I think, especially in the world today, God help us, where we spend so much time knocking each other down and trying to make other people feel bad to make yourself feel better. I think that's the one thing that I would like to see change in the business world. People working together.
Right, yeah. I mean, I don't know if this is relative to what was just asked, but I always say if it's not going to matter in 5 years, don't allow yourself to think about it 5 minutes and flip it the bird. Sorry.
I think for me, and it's a two-part answer. So first, in business, I would love to see mentorship all the way down. So I think, a lot of times your mentors are usually about 1 or 2 levels above you, but I think that I gained the most experience when the CEO became my mentor. So I would love to see leaders, right, mentor all the way down the chain. I think back to when I first started in the industry as a merchandise assistant, I didn't have a mentor at the time. And so having someone be able to help me navigate that earlier in my career, again, no regrets, but I think that would have shaped my career a little differently. And then on the other side, being a merchandise assistant, something that I would have liked to see more in business at that time is me mentoring up, right? Me really asking that CEO, hey, can you be my mentor? Or me not being afraid to email the CEO and introduce myself or put myself in some of these situations. So I think it goes twofold. It's mentorship all the way down the chain, but then also when you're at that lowest level at the company, being empowered to really make a name for yourself, because I guarantee you that if you do not do that, they'll never know who you are.
I don't really have a long answer to contribute, but what you just said really resonated with me because I think the worst feeling you can have is when you're working hard and you're really passionate about your job is that you feel like the company does not care. So here I go back to caring again, but some sort of way where the companies make more of an effort to make your employees feel like they matter more. I mean, like listen, I'm not like yay pro Google or anything like that, and I'm just saying companies like that where you see they may offer, I don't know, a free lunch cafeteria. We work in the building with Google and in the West Village, and they have this cafeteria and free lunch every day. It's like, wow, that's amazing. They have choices of different cuisines and everything. And I understand some of their offices, they have like yoga and Pilates and cleaners and dry cleaners and daycare, those kinds of things. I know every company can't do that, they're not financially able to do that, but some sort of way to make more of an effort to make employees feel like they really matter to the success of a company and you're not just a number.
Thank you so much. Kim, I have to tell you that when I was growing up, that was always my parents' rule. They called it the 10-year rule. And they said, if I got a bad grade or something went wrong, they said 10 years from now, you're not even going to remember that. The problem is that I'm older, I'm going to go with the 5-year rule. So I love that. Thank you. So our last question, and this is kind of a really thoughtful one, is how can women help other women to truly succeed today? And I know we sort of, talked about it, you've given a lot of advice, but if you had to sum it up in just a few sentences, how would you say that women can really help other women to succeed today?
There's an old saying, it takes a village. And I think that is, what I've done. First of all, I had this click. And what I really realized is I wanted to get rid of the negative ones, so I gave them pink slips. And I wanted to keep the positive ones. So you want to, as you get older, you realize you don't have as much time as you used to. So things that become frivolous, like if my friends know, if you gossip around me, you get your slip and your walking paper. I don't do that. At this stage of the game, it is all about community. I don't have time to waste. You know, people think middle age is 50. Well, not today. Middle age is 30 because a lot of people will not, a lot of people unfortunately won't make it to what they say, you know, the time that the average human has to live. So you have no time to waste. You build your network of positive women around you. That is what I'm left with at this point. I really did do that. And I've been called names by some of my ex friends or whatever. And I hate to say that, but you really have to manage your life and your time. So I try to surround myself with women that help me grow spiritually, mentally, financially. And it's not being a snob. This is your one life. We don't know if we're coming back. And from what I'm told, we're not. So really look at your friends and see what they bring to your life or what they take away from your life. And I see some people pondering because y'all know I'm telling the truth. We don't have time for this. Surround yourself with positive women. You are worth it. Be that village that everyone talks about. There's another saying, you know, be the change we wish to see in the world. Don't contribute to talking gossip. If there's a woman who's a single mom, and I do this all the time, and you know she's a single mother or something, she could use some time out. I'll go to my neighbor and say, hey, do you want to go out, you know, for a U day or something? You have to be a support to your sister. I am my sister's keeper. I really am.
So I'll piggyback off of that and say, just be a girl's girl. And in speaking to the students here today, you can practice that literally every day. When you're walking behind a girl and you see that her skirt's a little twisted, hey, your skirt's twisted, you know, help her out. And it just becomes easier for you. And then once you navigate into the corporate environment, because now you see that young assistant and she's telling you, I want to be a chief merchant, I want to be a CEO. And that becomes natural for you to mentor her and give her guidance. And maybe it's the guidance that you didn't have. So just be a girl's girl. And as we celebrate and we bring awareness this month to breast cancer awareness, for me, it's fighting like a girl. And I will always say that we are better together. And as you said, it's truly, I am my sister's keeper.
So I think for me, it's pretty much the same thing, right? It's having each other's back. It's being friends, right? Keeping your circle, right? It's making sure that you are the one that the girl's walking down the hallway in her skirt, you know, tucked in a little bit. You let her know that. I think you have to be there for each other, whether it's man or woman. You have to be there for each other, right? You guys build the future of what you want later on. You guys build your careers, your reputation, your relationships. Be there for each other. The only way I built a business from scratch was because I used my network, the people that I was good to over my years. They were there for me when we needed them the most. They paid it forward because I did it when I needed to. So it's staying with who you are and being good to who is around you. That's it.
Unfortunately, in radio, as I said a couple of times before, it's a very male-driven business. It's been my experience that other women in radio, and I'm not saying it's not a blanket statement like all women in radio, but in the industry, because they're at the, especially at the time when I was beginning, there were so few opportunities for women. Because if you think about it, any radio station, there's like the morning show, there's afternoons, there's middays, there's nights. Most of the time now, there's no overnights or weekends. So you only have like 4, maybe 5 good jobs on a station, on the radio. And so it's like, oh my God, I got to fight for that. And then add to that the fact that there are more men given opportunities than women. So the women were always like fighting against each other. There was not a lot of camaraderie. Um, I'm gonna, I'm gonna start this rumor about you because it makes me look better and I could get this job. It's been like that, unfortunately. So I would just say, I mean, even today when there are more opportunities for women on air, there's still not that sisterhood that you would hope there would be. Because I'm very pro woman. I'm very, like rah rah sis boom bah, So it disappoints me to come across that all these years that I've been in radio. So I would say just to encourage women more to believe in themselves and not to feel like there's not room for all of us. Because when you feel like there's not room for all of us, then you feel like you have to fight against other women. And that's not really, it's not sexy and it's not, and it's not good. So I would say that just the confidence in yourself that you can make it, even if other women are also making it, Yeah.
Well, I have run out of questions. Thank you so much to our panelists. I think this was an amazing opportunity for all of us to learn from them. It was truly incredible. And now we'd like to take some time for questions.
Lovely. Oh, it's working. So we're gonna go to the chat and then I'm gonna go to the room, guys. So first question, what causes are important to you?
For me, children. One of the things I'm working on right now is a good friend of mine is Tisha Campbell. We want to create a documentary for children that have been trafficked. So yeah, children. That everything children.
I would say the same. My family is 30 years into owning a daycare business, and we have 4 different locations throughout Westchester County, New York. And so every focus of mine is educating and empowering children and serving as a mentor. So anything regarding children for me as well.
For us, it's mentorship and mentoring small businesses. It's also children with disabilities. I come from a family of children with disabilities, so we do a lot in that area.
You guys think because we're women, we're like, yay, children, because everybody's saying
I got
children. But I love children as well. I don't have children of my own, but I love children. I have about 5 godchildren, and I was a nanny at one point. So I'm always everything, pro children, pro woman. I'm also a big proponent of taking care of ourselves emotionally and mentally, because there have been times, especially when I was, say, I had a huge depression when I got into college. When I left high school and got into college, I went through a major depression, so much so that I could not operate from day to day. I had to drop out. And so I dealt with that, and I've dealt with a couple of depressions over my life, and I went to therapy and it really helped me out. So I'm a big proponent of taking care of yourself mentally and emotionally, and self-care.
I just want to say one thing. She asked if, I said children or we said children because of, us being women. No, I was sexually assaulted as a child. So, by a school teacher. So the reason why I choose to be a voice for trafficked children is because I have lived that journey and I'm not ashamed to tell it. And I feel like if I come out and tell it, more children will speak up, because that is really what the advantage is for pedophiles, is that no one speaks up. So that is my mission and purpose.
Thank you, ladies. We're gonna open it up to the audience.
Thank you. My name is Marcella Jen Corelli, and I am with Valley Bank. And one of the things that I wanted to ask you when I saw that you had touched on mindfulness before, and now you just touched on a little bit about self-care. What type of self-care, if you do implement in order to assist you in being successful, And what is it? Is it yoga, meditation, family time, cooking, a hobby? Just curious to know what type of self-care.
I was saying, for a few years, I lived in SoCal and I really learned what self-care meant to me when I was there. I was regularly at the ocean. I was regularly being out in nature is really a big thing for me. Being out in nature, because if you can't go to the ocean, I mean, you can go to the whatever river, you can go to the Hudson River. It's not the same as, the ocean, but it's water. Water is very healing for me. So, like hearing, like even when I sleep, I have the sound machine on. It drives people crazy, but I have the sound machine on. It makes me, I always hear New Yorkers say, they don't like that. They want to hear noise. They want to hear traffic. And for me, I want to I want to, I live in Jersey City and I work in Manhattan, and I always dreamed of living in New York City, but I also like the idea of escaping it every day. Although Jersey City is not that different from the city, but I mean, more space, less rats, is what I was. But also I like the idea of escaping because it's less noise and, but water helps me. It's healing for me. Walking, I'm not the biggest, I know exercise is great for you. I'm not like, oh my God, I can't wait to get to the gym. But I do know that exercising helps me. It makes me stronger mentally and emotionally. So I like to exercise for that reason. And exercising outside is even better, going for long walks in nature. So all of those things help me. I like Pilates. I don't do it as much as I would love to do it, but those kinds of things. Whatever I feel like whatever self-care is, whatever makes you happy, that's healthy as well. Whatever makes you happy is what you do to, towards self-care.
Thank you. And would anyone else like to add to that or?
I'll add to it. And so I hope my friend here doesn't mind me calling him out, but I have with me my brand manager and stylist, Ray Walker of Luxury. And
did you just say Luxury?
Luxury.
I love it.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was me, wasn't it? Oh.
And
Sorry, guys.
So I will say for me, self-care has truly become affording myself luxuries so that I can have the time to really unwind, reset, and spend with my family and my friends. And so bringing Ray on board to my team is a form of self-care for me. And I just wanted to give him that plug, but truly just giving yourself the space and the luxuries, whether it's hiring a house cleaner, whether it's taking an Uber, just giving myself the space, I think, to really enjoy the moment of where I'm at and knowing that I can't do everything on my own.
And for me, it's meditation. I love meditation. I just feel like, not only does it center me, but it also just gives me more clarity. So that is my form of self-care.
Any questions from the audience? Ooh, so many. There's some in the chat, but we have questions. I'm going to come right back to you. I'm going to go to the students as I navigate the waters of the audience.
Hi, my name is Brianna. I'm representing Clean Tech. My question is, how do you reassure yourself that moving somewhere far from your dreams is the right choice?
I'm sorry.
Couldn't hear her.
Repeat the question.
Oh, all right. My question was, how do you reassure yourself that moving far away for your dream career is the correct choice?
I guess we could both speak to that. Huh? Well, I like I said, it was something I grappled with for much of my career. But I mean, I still grapple with it. Excuse me, but my mom helped me feel better about it. I think that if my family weren't such a close knit little family, I wouldn't have struggled with it so much. But I think that again, it's following your dreams. So I don't want to get to, we were saying this earlier, I don't want to be one of those people who doesn't chase after my dreams. Not the exact words you said, but I want to make sure that I get the most out of my life. And if this is something I'm passionate about and this gig is ideal, then there's my answer.
And I'll answer that as well. So I mentioned that I had went to Dallas, Texas to take a position at JCPenney, and I only spent 2 years there because ultimately I got homesick. And I wanted to be back close with my family. I found myself using all my vacation time to come right back to New York, which wasn't a real vacation, but I needed to see my family. And so for me, that moment, I got the experience that I needed, right? But it's funny how things turn full circle because I just flew in late last night from Houston, Texas, because Francesca's is a Houston-based retailer. So I think not giving up on what you truly set yourself out to do or what your goal is, I think is important. And also knowing that every experience is going to set you up for where your ultimate end goal is. And so me being prepared in that moment to do that travel in Texas heat, not knowing that I would wind up 10 years later, right back in Texas in another dream job of mine in a dream position, knowing that I'm going to get that experience. So don't psych yourself out. I think that you have to know that this experience that you're going to take, whether it's far away from your family or not, is going to be beneficial to your end goal. And it doesn't have to be forever. Get the experience that you need where you're at, and you can always go back.
So when you were there, did you eat at Papados or Papacitos or Turkey Leg Hut?
So Turkey Leg Hut is actually owned by a friend of mine that I just met on the airplane in Houston when I first took this job. But yes, Papados is definitely a favorite.
Hello, I'm Ashley Valentine, representing Donald Payne Tech, and my question was, what advice do you have for those starting a business or trying to start one?
When you're trying to start a business, I think you should really believe in your purpose and make sure that you're serving a community. So for instance, a lot of people say, oh, I want to, come out with something. Well, how does it fill a void? Is it something that, that people need? I think that's the first thing you should ask yourself. That are you putting something out that's going to be just a hobby, or are you putting something out that the masses would need? And I think believing in yourself, sticking, because there's going to be times when you're going to question yourself, and you can't give up when you start to question yourself. You just have to reinforce and remember why you started this whole journey. So the advice that I would give would be to make sure that it is not going to be a hobby, but an actual business.
So as a business owner, I can tell you, listen, the journey is hard, but it's rewarding. It's rewarding to see you take something from nothing, literally nothing, because you're starting with nothing, and actually building up to something. I think you have to just realize the journey ahead, right? You have to also realize there's a balancing act because things aren't always perfect. You want things to be great and perfect and happy, and they're not that way all the time. But I think you have to also stop along your journey and realize where your highs are and then learn from your lows. But I think that starting from scratch is hard. It's a hard journey. You're a lot younger than me. But I think that there's a lot that can be done for that. I think that's something that if you really truly want to do, then you have an entrepreneurial spirit. I think you should go for it younger. I think you should try it. If you start with a hobby, so be it. So start seeing where your entrepreneurial spirit lies.
And I want to answer that as well. So I mentioned that I come from a family of entrepreneurs. I have an older sister and a younger brother, and I am the only one in my family that is in a corporate environment. Everyone else is in the family business. And this is over 30 years. Both of my siblings are college educated as well. When my mom started her daycare business, I was 3 years old and she was in banking, and she could not find quality childcare for me. She found herself every day. She picked me up. I was complaining. I was crying. And she was like, okay, I can't focus in my job when my child is not happy. So she quit her job and she took one credit card and a dream, and she opened her daycare in our basement, and everyone thought she was crazy, including my dad. And I stand here telling you 30 years later, she has 4 locations throughout Westchester County. And had she let everyone tell her that she was crazy for leaving her very great banking industry job, and I really don't even know what she did, but I know that she was really, really good at it, she would not be where she is today. And even something a little more closer to home for you guys is my brother. He is now 26 years old. He graduated from the University of Maine, and he always knew that he did not ever want to work for anyone. He said he's going to be an entrepreneur. And when his graduation came around, my parents said, well, what do you want for your graduation? And he said, I want you to help me start a business. And the best investment that he ever made in himself, and I'm speaking for him, is getting a mentor. So if you know that you want to be a business owner, get yourself a mentor and invest in yourself right away. And my brother is now, like I said, 26 years old. He graduated college in 2019, and he's a serial entrepreneur. He has a video game trucking business. He has an amusement center that is similar to Dave & Buster's, and he's now expanding to go even further. And he has a Party Patrol fire truck, which you probably have seen, but it's a fire truck that he's turned into also a party bus. And so I just tell you, get yourself a mentor. I think that that's something that he would want me to tell you. And don't let anyone deter you from your vision. And that's what my mom would want me to tell you.
Loud and proud. All right. Hello, everyone. As Quay just said, my name is Ray, also known as Luxury of the Luxury Experience Incorporated. My question has a couple of layers, and Quasia knows me, so it's always a little deep. So at the core of this question, I know that we're talking about women's empowerment, and we talked a lot about sisterhood, but in a time and in a history where we know that a lot of the workforce, there isn't a 50-50 ratio. Men tend to not only dominate the workforce in general, but also leadership. I want to know, what would you all say that men can do? And I don't want the cliche answer. I want your true from your gut and heart answer as to how women can help, how men can help women navigate within the workforce, whether it be entrepreneurial, corporate, nonprofit, whatever sector. And then specifically for this upcoming generation, as they enter into the workforce that doesn't look like it's going to change much, how can they prepare for such a climate?
Take a minute, ladies.
So I think in the IT space, obviously we're male dominated, right? We're primarily white male dominated, right? So I sit on a lot of the DE&I councils with Mayor Adams in the city of New York. And the way, what I tell the men is that, and there's been a lot of men that I've mentored over time, because, right, they have businesses too, not just the women, right? And they're trying to start out in an IT space, right? So there are men of color going up against white men, right? So they're battling up against that. And what we do is we help mentor and teach them. And I tell them, don't become a checkbox, right, for DE&I in the city of New York, right? Stand up and show that you have skills, talent, and you have the ability to do it, because then you'll be recognized more for that than anything else, right? Because I think a lot of them need just mentorship, direction, right? Trying to find someone who's got your back, someone that will help you build your business. There's a lot of times when we have opportunities in the IT space, especially in New York, where it needs to go to a minority up to some degree. And those people who I've worked with for a long time are the ones I'll go to and say, hey, I have a $300,000 opportunity. Do you want to do this with me? Right. And if I know they can do it or they're willing to learn, right, then we'll just keep going back and giving them more. So I think it's really showing that you can do it, right, that you're confident in yourself and you're willing to learn and put yourself out there.
Oh, no.
Anybody?
No, I'm sorry. You heard me sigh because I was saying, I literally was saying to myself, I can't wait for maybe my grandchildren's, and I do have grandchildren, my grandchildren's generation, that hopefully gender and race won't be an issue anymore. I just really would love to see humanity get to that point. And so I sighed because I'm like, why make life so heavy? I know I'm a bit of a hippie, but I'm like, at what point, it kills me because everyone believes in God. but yet we have these things that, we allow, because it doesn't separate us. We allow and we create. So, I was sighing, not because I had a comment, but I'm just like, God, I can't wait till this BS is behind us, and we could just finally be the human race. That is what I would love.
I guess I would just say, just over my career, I have had so many things happen where I feel like if men want to, help, I think, and this is certainly not all men I've worked with, but certain men that I've worked with, just kind of in the workplace, allow yourself to see us as, competent and equal, and because there are some people who just, especially in my industry, I've had people go, well, I remember once being given a job on the morning show where I was the co-host and not just the sidekick. And someone goes, this guy goes, why would they give her that? I mean, certainly I was capable of it. So why are you questioning that? I remember one other coworker was saying to me, this was in California. He said something to me like, well, you're the best sounding female on that station, as if there's no way I could even be equal to the men, you know what I'm saying? So if you can allow yourself to imagine that women can be equal and competent, I think that would help, because when you work as hard as I do, I work really hard. I take my job very seriously. I dedicate a lot of my time to it and make sure that I'm very, very well informed and educated on everything I'm doing. And so it would help if I came to my workplace and I wasn't confronted with well, you're the best sounding female, and the emphasis on female. That would be nice, those kinds of things. I think just be, just open to the possibility that we're capable and competent.
Yeah, and I think to piggyback off of that, just the reality of the question is it's what we're living in, right? It's a male dominated world, and in an industry specifically too that I'm in. And so I would say if a man could do anything, it would just be to give a woman a chance. I think that's truly what it comes down to. And I'll always go back to Sam Lindsay because he gave me a chance. I interviewed with 2 other men before him, and they didn't give me the chance because I didn't have the experience. But Sam knew that I was smart enough to do the job and to figure it out. And so after getting to know me from a personality level, everything else can be learned. So I think in a industry or even a world where it's dominated by men could really use their power by empowering women and giving them the chance to sit at some of these tables, be in some of these rooms, and be leaders at some of these companies.
By the way, if I can piggyback on that, talking about what men can do, I've been blessed throughout my career that all of the opportunities I've been blessed with were because of the men who gave them to me. So there are men who are uplifting women. There was no way that I could have gotten my first full-time job on air when I was a college student if my male boss didn't give me that opportunity. There's no way that I could have become the first African-American, period, woman or man, to have a full-time show on Z100 New York, the biggest pop station in the world, if my male boss did not give me that opportunity. And my male boss right now gave me the opportunity to host afternoons in New York City, which is really pretty amazing. So there are men out there uplifting women.
Yeah, I just want to say on a funny note is I sat at the table this morning with Shelly and she introduced herself to me and she said, "Hi, I'm Shelly Wade." And I said, "Hi, I'm Kim Baker. Nice to meet you." And then I turned to myself and said, "Wow, there's a radio host with that name, Shelly Wade."
But it's so funny. I thought my name was very unique, and then now, like you go on Instagram, it's like 5 million Shelly Wades. It's like, oh, I thought I had a unique name. My mom, by the way, you know, again, aging myself, but my mom, when she was pregnant with me, she was watching a movie with Shelley Winters. And that's why, if you see my name, it's spelled with an EY. Shelley Winters spelled her name with an EY. That's why she spelled my name that way. She liked that name. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We have time for one last question. And in the meantime, Kim
Can I
has
ask,
something
who
for us.
likes makeup? Listen, grown ladies. No, I bought some palettes with me, but do you have any questions you want to give the audience to go through?
Sure. Go ahead, Kim.
So who likes makeup? I see somebody over there. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. What's the name of my company? Yes. I can't hear you. What? Don't tell her. Don't tell her. What's the name of my company? Oh yeah. Next. Oh, I'm sorry.
It was, by the way, it was literally just on the screen.
Come on up here, girl. Okay, let me see. Anybody else like makeup?
No.
What radio
just waiting for
station is
it to talk.
Shelly with? Hold on for 1 second. You. Yeah, what radio station is Shelly with?
Yeah, she said it right, 94.7.
You at 94.7?
94.7.
Oh,
Yeah, she got it right.
I was getting ready to say Z100. Okay. Who's gonna be the first person to follow me on Instagram at Glamazon Beauty? I can't tell because you got your hands raised. Did anybody do it yet? Who's the first person? You know, I can look at my phone and tell. Glamazon Beauty Cosmetics on Instagram. I'm gonna look and see who the first person is. So this is gonna be for that person. I have another question. There you go. Come on, girl. Okay.
Did you say all of your makeup is organic? Is it all organic?
Yes, my
Oh, I
foundation
love it.
sticks are vegan.
Are you
Yes.
wearing your personal makeup right
Yes,
now?
I am.
Pretty.
And we'll figure out the next two after she asks her next question.
Okay, and we have our last question.
We're on television on Shop HQ. And I have a little secret. Nobody's in here recording, right? At the top of the year, Tiffany Haddish is becoming my business partner.
Wow.
And we are launching on to HSN. My favorite.
My name is Carlos and I'm from Passaic Valley and I have one question. Was there a point in your journey where you felt like giving up? And if so, how did you overcome that?
If we're being honest, about once a week, right? I'd say about once a week.
Once a week, every day?
Yeah. And I think for me, it's being the change that I want to see, right? As we talk about representation, as we talk about diversity, as we talk about inclusion, if I give up, that's one less seat at the table that looks like me. So giving up is not an option.
I think giving up goes along with the journey, right? I don't think anyone else at the top have ever not wanted to give up, never wanted to stop, right? I think that's just part of your journey. I think you just have to overcome it. It's going to be with you forever. You're always going to feel like you want to give up. There's days I wake up and I'm like, oh God, not again. But you have to keep going because people depend on you, right? You'll get jobs as directors and managers, and your staff will count on you. You're always going to want to give up. It's your job as a person. You get one life, as we said before. It's your job to just keep pushing through, no matter how hard it is, no matter how you feel. Your job is to just keep pushing through.
I never really feel like I want to give up. There are certain times where I feel like if I'm going after a goal and it feels like I'm hitting my head up against a brick wall or spinning my wheels, and I go, well, maybe this is not the time right now. But that doesn't necessarily mean for me that it's not going to happen ever, but maybe this isn't the specific time. And to your point earlier, I don't really feel like no is like the final thing. I never take a hard no. I'm like, well, what about this? What about if we do it this way? And then if you're getting, I can't remember where I heard this, read this quote, but if a person's saying no, maybe that's the wrong person. Maybe that doesn't mean that that goal isn't for you. So at some point you're going to get a yes. If it's something that's meant for you, it's going to happen, I feel.
I just want to say, before I got a yes from Shop HQ, I got 5 no's. And I just kept circling, going to QVC, going to HSN, going to Shop HQ. I kept doing it over and over. Then I pulled back and I said, you know what? Maybe it's not my time. And what I realized is that God's time is always perfect timing. And I went back the last time and I was waiting for them to say no, and I got a yes. So yes, you just be persistent and consistent and patient, you know? And don't give up on yourself.
We're gonna sneak in one last question, Patty.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
No
but a
problem.
round of applause for our students for being in the room, taking advantage, being loud and proud, right?
Hi, everyone. My name is Aaliyah Williams. I am in the Newark Berkeley location. So I drove a little far, just like you guys. But my question is that, society has taught us to be a girl boss. You must be strong and independent woman. And I know sometimes growing up, I always been told that being a strong, I'm a strong, independent woman. And then you ladies mentioned that community multiple times, going to your community, collaborating, things like that. When do you decide in your career to take the cape off and get help?
That was a good question, right? It was worth it. It was worth it.
I don't think we, I'm not sure we can. My God.
Okay.
I think for me, I'm still learning to take my cape off. I think that there's a lot of times where I feel vulnerable, where I feel like I have to know it all. I have to be able to do it all. But as I said, that back to that self-care question, more recently for me, I would say in the last year, right? And I have a 15-year career, and I would say in the last year is where I've really started to take that cape off and say, I can't do it all. I can't be everywhere. I can't do everything. And there are people that can do certain things better than me. And that's when I bring them on board. And that's how I created my community. Delegation. That's a great.
That was an amazing question.
Yeah, that was a hard one to answer. Well, I also think you take your cape off and you put it back on sometimes, because I think you feel confident in yourself and you feel ready to fly on your own. But I think you take a step back sometimes and you feel insecure again. But that's a female thing for us, right? We feel secure, then we're not secure again. So I think that you'll know when to take your cape off. You'll know when you'll feel confident in yourself, and it's okay if you have to kind of put it back on. There's a lot of times I just want to hide. I don't want to be the only female CEO in a room of 200 men like I was last week. I don't want to be the only one. And that was when I cut it back on a little bit. So maybe they wouldn't notice me in the room. But then you have to learn how to stand up and be seen. Absolutely.
I kind of feel like you don't necessarily have to take your cape off. Maybe it doesn't have to assist you in flying. You don't really have to take it off. It's like you don't have to take your crown off. I think that you always, because don't all of the listen, I'm not the super hero aficionado, but don't they all have sidekicks that help them out? I think that everyone, even if you're a superhero, you always have help. So you don't have to do everything alone all the time. You guys, I mean, yeah.
You need that village.
There's always help.
Right back to that.
There's always help.
Yeah, it goes right back to needing that village every time. But I have to say, I love that question.
Yeah, that was a good question. That's a tough one. Stumped us all.
Yeah.
Like, hey, girl. We're all like, who's going? I'm like, I'm not going. Thank you.
Would you like to do one more, Tim?
Sure.
Oh, one more pound.
Yeah.
I feel bad. I didn't come with gifts.
You know what? She just raised. I just
I
saw her
know.
raise her hand. It's yours, darling. Yeah.
You want to ask a question?
Oh, you were
She
asking.
wants to
Oh,
ask
you
a
wanted to
question.
ask a question. Okay.
And she wants. Jen.
Yay.
Amen. And I know you heard it come out of my mouth because I always keep God first. You know, I wouldn't be, you know, I would say I had every statistic against me, what is supposed to be a statistic, but my faith is what allowed me to know that I would get to my destination. And guess what? I'm not, even though I've been on Good Morning America, Tamron Hall, whatever, I'm still not where I know God is going to take me. And there's not a day I don't wake up and say, thank you, God, for another day. You know? So yeah, I know it came out of my mouth.
I think I said, oh God, when somebody asks a question.
You go.
No, you go.
You
No,
go.
no, you
No,
go.
no, you go. God would want both of you guys to go.
You know, I think that I have another question that maybe last part. I think for us, it's just you're always pushing through, right? You're always. I think that I always consider my success a coincidence, but I know my team will tell you it's not. It's hard work, determination, and it's your team around you, right? I think that we had to make ourselves. I don't think that anyone had anything to do with it. I think that being able to rise above being self-conscious all the time, which I still am, has to do with success, right? You can't be self-conscious and successful at the same time. You really have to rise above that. And that's really the team that helps build you up to keep you up there because you can't stay up by yourself.
So the question was, I believe we wanted to repeat the question for everyone online. So the question was, do we attribute the success that we've had in our life to mentors, or does God have something to do with that essentially? And so as a God-fearing woman, I don't make any decisions without talking to him first. And so for me, God is good. And all of the experiences, all of my mentors, and all of the people that have been put in my life, I know came directly from him. So to answer your question, God is good all the time, and all the time, God is good.
That part.
Everybody's looking at me. I believe in everyone's choice to, believe what they want to believe. For me, I pray every day. I talk to God all day. Even when I was in the shower this morning, TMI, getting ready, I, thanked God for this opportunity to, be in community with you guys and for giving me the tools that for already giving me the tools that I need to be successful on the panel to, anything I'm able to do. I thank God for that. So I feel like I have a dream. I'm not sure that I feel like God put radio as my dream, but I feel like God has already given me the tools I'll need to be successful at whatever I want to do. That's how I feel.
You know, I just want to say, I know for a fact that God has involvement in my life. During the time COVID happened, I remember when they were saying we were going to shut down. And I have a business, right? Cosmetics. And I need to be out and speaking and promoting. And I remember shaking in my boots. And everybody watched Love and Hip Hop, or not Love and Hip Hop, Atlanta Housewives. Cynthia Bailey, who doesn't call me often, called me and said, hey, Kim, get ready. The explosion is about to happen. I'm like, what are you talking about? We're about to be shut down. And she was like, get your online straight. And I kid you not, I literally made $500,000 online during COVID. And because I knew God had so much to do with it, I was in the house. How are you doing that? We just pushing, things online, like, digital, and things, the sales just kept coming and coming. But you know what I did? And this is for no accolades or anything. Because I knew it was God, me and my daughter took our debit card, because our money was back then was going straight onto our debit card. And my bank was just like, what is going on? We would stand in Walmart, I kid you not, and I get emotional when I think about it. And I would see elderly people go up, and every single elderly person, I would walk over, and as soon as they got their total, swipe this card. Because I knew where my blessings came from.
Great. Thank you so much. I would really like to thank Kim, Quasia, Marianne, and Shelley for their vision, sharing their time, their insights. We cannot thank you enough. Thank you again. And now I would like to pass it over to Kelly Dempsey to conclude our program.
Thank you, Patty, and thank you to our wonderful entrepreneurship panel. We so appreciate you being here today. Before we close it out, I just want to give a big thank you to our Berkeley College team who helped us put this event together today. Peniota Babadelis, who was handling the mic before, who co-produced this event with me. Mary Farley and our information systems team, Mohammed Mahosin and our building grounds team, the external engagement team, especially Samantha Horning, who did all of the wonderful graphics for this event and the quote panels. Dr. Jill Greenbaum, seriously, you have to get up here and see this board. It's amazing. Our student volunteers, our honor students who are at the front, and my Federal Work Studies student, Miriam, who helped today. There were a lot of little details that went into the big picture today that you may not notice, but as the person who spent the first 7 years at this event steaming the tablecloths, it's a special place in my heart. So they put in all that work for today. And last but certainly not least, Letitia Gaines for opening her campus to us today. We couldn't have done it without you. So we will be sharing a recording of today's event, as well as some resources from our panelists. If you want to email me some things to share with our group here. So check our website, berkeleycollege.edu/WEW. Please also look out for a survey of today's event. Once more, thank you to our sponsors and partners, Blackhawk Data, Eastern Funding, Valley Bank Women in Business, Dee's Cozy Kitchen, ShopRite of Little Falls, NJBIA, the Statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for being here today.
Oh, you guys, can I just say real quick? My Instagram is the one and only Shelly Wade, the one and only, because there's so many of them. I had to do the one and only. And my Facebook page is All the Rage with Shelly Wade. Like, follow. Thank you, guys.
Yes, you do. She was holding it for you.